We're here for our 5th season of digging at East Yorkshire. Over the years, we've found a Roman villa and evidence that suggests we might even have a Roman mancio. This is one of the earliest Roman sites north of the Humber, and the people who settled here probably stayed for about 100 years. We know when they arrived, and we know when they probably left, but one question that we really want to answer this year is, what was everyday life like for these people? What do you think life would have been like for the people who lived here?
Oh, fantastic question.
I'm not sure, but it doesn't look particularly luxurious.
Short.
By our standards, we would consider it quite difficult.
Tough.
The ditches that we've seen, actually they're more organised than you would ever think possible.
I'm sure they expected less out of life. They didn't want to go off on holidays.
It's not Rome by any stretch.
I think some people lived a very good life here, and other people worked very hard to provide it for them.
But people are people, so I think they were probably very similar to us in the way that they dealt with a lot of their problems.
Probably brilliant.
So Nat, right now it sort of feels like we're in the middle of nowhere, but that wouldn't have been the case for the people who lived here in the Roman times. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
No, it certainly wouldn't have been. They're right in the middle of all sorts of activity in this landscape. We've about a day's march away from Moulton and from York. We've got all sorts of ladder settlements and other rural settlements going on in the landscape. There could have been trade from all over the country and all over Europe.
Great, so it's sort of like there's quite a hub of activity going on here. It's like living in the suburbs. You've got all that busyness, but then you're sort of slightly away in the countryside. You've got your views and your nature.
Sort of, except for we're not near a town. A sort of posh little hamlet in the middle of the countryside, rather than a suburb on the outskirts of town. So it would have been quite a comfortable place to live. They're so connected with everywhere in this landscape. I wouldn't have minded living here.
Ben, you like a building?
Yeah.
We found some buildings last year. Can you take us through what that shows us about life on site?
Yes, so in the trench that we had open last year, we found a courtyard building with some rooms coming off of it. It looked like it could have been fairly substantial. We got possibly half timber, half stone building. Maybe it was a few stories high, but it looked like a nice, comfortable place for people to be living.
And is it right that we found a sort of a shed in the courtyard?
Yeah, so we found a couple of post holes and some beam slots that looked like they were just a small little shed-like structure, temporary thing perhaps, in your garden, like a garden shed.
Who doesn't love a bit of gardening? So there's definitely some leisure activities happening here.
Might well have been, yes. Maybe something like a little barbecue in the garden, in the courtyard, in the British weather.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Jodie, you've been finding loads of animal bone on site this year. Do you think you can take us through some examples?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a wide selection of bone that's been coming up. The things that you would associate with farm life, so your working animals, your horses and your cows, and then you've got the things that end up on the dinner plate as well, so your chickens and your pig and your sheep. We've also got a nice selection of shellfish. They're eating marine animals as well, so lots of nice shiny oyster shells and mussels and clams, even lots of snail shells. So they've got a wide variety of things that are ending up on the dinner table.
Oh, quite continental. It sounds like they've got quite the feast going.
Yeah.
Am I right as well in thinking that we have some evidence of pets here?
Yeah, absolutely. So it isn't just the humans that are eating well, it's some of the other animals as well. So some of those bits of animal bones that have come up have got clear evidence of being gnawed and chewed on by sharp little canine teeth. So the impulse to feed your pets off the dining room table seems to continue way back through time as well.
And then of course we also have that really beautiful piece of Samian ware that came out this year that has that dog on it. Just goes to show that dogs have always been very close to our hearts, very special friends.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Johanna's got that one. You should go and have a look.
Oh, definitely, yeah. thank you for taking some time out of your busy finds room schedule to show me some pottery.
My pleasure.
Jodie mentioned that you have something quite special for us, so shall we start with that?
I think you might be talking about the dog. Mm-hmm. Yes, so it's this piece here. It's a piece of Samian, so it would have been imported from France. So here you can see the dog on it. It's actually mid-jump, so it's running. You can see its little head, and it even has a collar on. So it's a domestic dog, probably. And as I said, it's imported, so it's very high status. Not everybody would have been able to afford this. We also have this. So this is the top of an amphora, a very substantial vessel, and this would have been imported from Spain. Probably carried olives or olive oil. So again, quite a high status object if you could afford to have something like this imported to your house. We also have some cruder pottery. So like this one, this would have been a cooking pot. Quite big actually, quite crude as well, so nothing that you would want to show off. Then we also have this bit, which is part of a mortarium, so that would have been used for food preparation, for grinding herbs, for example, mixing things. So again, kitchen object.
Awesome, yeah, so we've got the preparation, the stuff behind the scenes. We know they're eating, we know they're preparing their own food, and then we've also got this fancier stuff too that shows the comfortable lifestyle that they're living.
Exactly.
That's great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So Johanna's gone back to the finds room now, and I've actually pinched something from this year that is my personal favourite find. So I've got this lovely copper ring, and not only is it stunning, but jewellery finds like this I think are really important in not only showing us monetary value, but also sentimental value as well. You can almost imagine someone putting this on every day. And it brings me back to last year when we actually found 2 brooches in a rubbish pit that were interlocked. And what's really interesting about these brooches is that we found out later that they come from 2 different centuries. So one brooch came from the 1st century AD and the other from the 2nd century AD. And what's really fascinating about that brooch from the 1st century AD is that it shows evidence of repair work. So could it be that that brooch was sentimental enough to someone that they've invested in that and put that repair work in? Over the seasons, we built a pretty good idea of what life might have been like for these people. We know they're in a prime location, not too far from other settlements. They have multiple buildings, possibly multi-storey with a courtyard as well. They're eating a varied diet with food and pottery imported from the continent, and they might even have had pets. But there's no doubt it would have been hard. This was a working farm, and they would have been some of the earliest settlers in this region. We might not know who was living here, but we're starting to get a clearer picture of what life was like in this Roman settlement.